Like in Black and White, they had the Legendaries cry cut off the music. I love this shout out to Generation 3. It's like they know what helped define some people's childhoods, including mine. Our mother's still making us ride in the moving truck. I expected them to poke fun at that. Laron tempers its body by drinking water, which weakens rock types. Unlike most starter birds, Tail and Hoot Hoot evolve only once. Maybe I'm used to Alola and Galar, but seeing everyone barely move feels uncanny. Well, at least unlike the Sinnoh remakes, they're not sacrificing new fully animated cutscenes for the sake of nostalgia pandering. Why doesn't Birch just run to his bag and send out a Pokemon? I don't mind Wurmple, but it's pretty much a Caterpie slash Weedle clone with a complicated evolution method. Professor Birch basically rooted against his own daughter. Really? It's been 3 seconds since our last interruption. Get used to May interrupting the game a lot. This is an interesting mechanic, but it could disappoint fans of the originals. They probably expected a Pokemon that was previously unseen on this route. I preferred when we didn't need screen transitions when going between routes. Lotad, despite being a water type, can't learn many water moves normally. If this kid sinks into the grass, why can't he just step out of it? Who knew picking berries made their trees disappear? Did this kid fight Norman outside the gym? Our father's letting Wally borrow a Pokemon so he can actually catch his first Pokemon instead of being given it? Now Wally's gonna have bragging rights for life. It's nice to help Wally catch a Pokemon, but is he teaching himself? Also, this is pretty much a disguised tutorial, except not even a direct one. Wally's been sick all his life? How's he still alive? And how come his parents let him go out? This game's soundtrack's very nostalgic to me. I'm gonna remove Sins for the combined total of all of the ones I love. We get nothing for giving our potions to this kid. Winston wastes a 4 restore on a low-level Zigzagoon. Of course you couldn't win with your level 5 Wurmples. The enemy team couldn't have full battle models like Team Flare. How will bringing bug types to school make you popular? Nincada stays motionless until it evolves, yet it can still fight. Game Freak got seeds and berries mixed up. In the original games, these ladies actually look pretty. Now they look like they have too much sunburn. Ivan's a water type expert when he's a generic trainer with a Magikarp team. Now that you mention it, I miss when Pokemon Centers had 2 floors. Maybe it's a new camera angle, but these gyms look so puny now. Clyde's GBA sprite looked much cooler. Roxanne's gym lacks variety. Everyone uses Geodude. I feel sorry for Nosepass, always stuck facing north. Despite his Pokédex entry, Grovyle can learn Fly. I missed when we got badges the instant the battle ended. Good thing we just happened to be in town when the researcher was being robbed, otherwise he'd never get the Devon goods back. I love how this teacher says students that don't study get a taste of his Quick Claw, then gives us a Quick Claw. What's that supposed to mean? What's the point of Premier Balls? Yeah, but would you be in trouble for not having the Devon goods? Yes, they are important, but if you explain it, I think they'd understand it's not your fault. Hooray, youngster Joey's here, inspiring everyone to make that top percentage Rattata joke that's like 50 years old. Being overdramatic. Bugcatcher Jose really thought he had us with his team of Wurmple, Nincada, and Silcoon. These guys were digging in Rustorf Tunnel and had to put a stop to the process right when they were almost there. Even though these guys think they're in the right, this grunt admits to being evil. And of course, like all Pokemon villains, he thinks that his evil plan is over just because he lost a Pokemon battle. Why couldn't the Devon Corporation just hire some guards to get these important papers back? Or at least call the cops? Is there any reason Mr. Stone can't just tell us that Steven's his son, like a father would? What's Mr. Briny doing running around the table in circles with Pico? Good idea, go into a ship with an old man you barely know. What a great thing to teach kids. I like these camera angles. While I do like the attention to the detail of how the player sits on the cushions when talking to people sitting on cushions, your character will even sit on the floor if he's there. Potion festivals. Maybe it's because I'm not a fisherman, but I don't understand why they need to leave their fishing rod cast out here while they're in the bathroom. They'll never catch fish like that. It's amazing that Slackoth can survive when its heart beats only once a minute. Even real sloths' hearts beat 45 times a minute. How would you know we even fish at all? I guess that making most of Granite Cave optional wasn't that bad of a choice, but this shot of it from the bottom screen looks very little like how it did in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. And you can't catch Auron as early as you could in the original games. What gives? Laura seems too tough to be acting like a crybaby when she loses. With a name like Brawly, I'm surprised this person isn't disappointed that he didn't get into Smash Bros. Brawl. While I do like how the backgrounds are actually the backgrounds in the respective areas, the screen wasn't this high. The thick fat ability is meant to half the damage from ice and fire. Good thing to teach kids, that it's good to be fat. You could have worded that a bit less weird. Kyogre looks silly with strong arms. That's actually annoying. Blur's just accusing us of trying to steal his snow cone. Looks like we got ourselves another Mega Peg from the Johto games. Doohickey.
Who are you people?
Maxie looks stupid now. Archie insults his minions for losing to a kid, then says we're no ordinary kids. Even though Archie's wrong in trying to expand the seas, he kinda has a point. The submersible pod looks like some helmet/igloo looking thing. This person still says don't run around the museum even though it's possible now with no repercussions. They should have changed their dialogue to don't use your bike in the museum. Did Captain Stern even bother to make sure his submarine's big enough? Lycia randomly picks shots out of everyone. Seems a bit suspicious even though she's not a twist villain. I have nothing against her. I think it's cute that she likes us. But yeah, congratulating us for being the 100th trainer makes you look even more suspicious. Again, I know Lycia is not evil, but this could easily give the wrong impression. Berries look rotten when Pokemon eat them. I hate this move. It permanently takes away your item. Some trick house puzzles have paths that go directly to the exit. While at least the scroll needed to open the door isn't out in the open. Really? A stomach Pokemon? What next? A toilet Pokemon? Don't get any ideas. What do you mean by almost your equal in greatness in 4 places? And yes, there's only 6 trick house puzzles instead of the original's 8. People actually mistake this for a human child. Nuzleaf used this leaf as a flute but can't learn Grass Whistle. You said you just wanted to see our Pokemon, then you say you wanted to complete your collection. Are you implying you want to steal our Pokemon? Look what they've done with Marvel City. Why couldn't it look like this in Making Battles in the Sand? This deserves some sins off. Since Wally's become a trainer, we've gotten 2 badges. I'm pretty sure Wally should be ready to get one by now, though maybe his uncle's onto something. One Ralts can't beat Watson. Before this game came out, Game Freak lied to us that Wally would replace May as our rival. I'm glad he didn't, but why did they lie to us? I'm removing 2 sins because Curly's back sprite isn't disgusting anymore. Melissa didn't need a bike to enter Cycling Road. You would have if Game Freak weren't too lazy to design female triathletes this time. This goes on for some time. You'll lose that triathlon just running back and forth like that. Lydia and Isaac never evolved their Pokemon in the rematches. Why? That's one of the things I loved about fighting them in the original. The news puts pretty much anything on the air, and I thought Modern Ash Ketchum was way too easily impressed. Why doesn't Watson use Main Trick like an Emerald? We clearly can't see the Trickmaster behind this tree. Pokemon Ranger Sebastian isn't singing to a mermaid about how Sea Life's better. How many times do we have to answer yes? The Winds Racer fought from weakest to strongest. How's Victoria stronger than Victor? Victoria only has 1 Pokemon while Victor has 2, Flying beats Roselia, and there's barely any level difference. Even if you come back after being their son, Victor and Vicky still say he's stronger than you. Nice try, but if Vito was the champion, you'd know that. Unless this world's mean enough to not tell anyone about a champion's accomplishments. This guy's identity crisis is worse than Kanto's Karate Masters. He was named Clark, then Jim, and now Bryce. Game made me spell Roz wrong for Monsters Incorporated for over a decade. Bagon repeatedly jumps off cliffs trying to fly, but keeps landing on its head. That's messed up. Hey, Yoshi's New Island, Dream Drop Distance, and LGBT Nazis who try to repeatedly harass Disney into making Elsa gay. Take notes. This is how you retcon something correctly. Revealing that Arun's from Unova and not Hoenn is a twist no one will care about, so it can't ruin any awesome plot points. How does Spoink not die from sleeping if it has spouts to keep its heart pumping? What's the point of making this senile old lady keep asking us to rest even after our Pokemon are fully restored? I love this route, but I'm sitting here for reminding me of how stupid I was as a kid. I actually mistook this for snow. So it's no longer gathered from running in grass. That was so much fun! Leo must really be a ninja if he doesn't suffocate or cut himself while hiding in ash. I bet Professor Cosmo and Wanda from Verdant Turf are youngster Timmy's godparents because he was being abused by Windstraight Vicky. What if wind blows Swabbler's cloud wings away? Does it become flightless forever? Well, it looked like when it evolves into Altaria in this state. Yeah, how are we supposed to know that? The enemies only use 4 Pokemon lines, with only 1 being actually of their respective types. Can you at least give them any more Pokemon like Wingull or Slugma? I know this wobbly shot's meant to show the other leader's point of view when he's walking, but it's a detail they really shouldn't have gone through the trouble of since simply zooming in would look better. The Allied teams were cooler in the Game Boy Advance versions. Is there any reason for them to act like they're our enemies too? I mean, when have you ever heard anyone complaining about the good team not being harsh on you? Every Pokemon villain fights for a nicer world. This is really dangerous. Having a platform above lava without even having a way to hold it up from the other side. For some reason, I think the dowsing machine looks weird. Okay, now Flannery's just stalling. The fact that you can get instantly taken to the area you want to go at some points is worthy of a send-off. I see that Go Goggles protect our eyes from the sandstorm, but it won't stop us from choking on the sand blowing in our faces. Not a smart move for Heidi to have a picnic in the desert, where the sandstorm will blow all over her stuff, unless she likes the taste of sand. And she proves that like a lot of trainers, she's a sure loser. I guess it might be only fair that we get to choose only one of the two fossils before the other sinks into the sand, but what's stopping us from just reaching with both of our hands and taking them both at once? Would Grandma from Banjo-Kazooie come out of the sand and order us to give one back if we did that? If we beat Dusty and then rematch him, he forgets how many years he's been searching for ancient ruins. Point is, the player's a jerk to Dusty. I always wondered, why is Sandstorm a rock type move instead of a ground type move? That literally makes no sense. I'd say we're doing the Trickmaster a favor this time, since look at this head-sized compartment. That must be very uncomfortable to hide in. The girl who was lost in thought was named Robin instead of Corin. Game raises their hopes for a trick house with 2 floors, only for that to just be a secret tunnel. Which is still kinda cool, mind you. How do people not lose their souls from staring into the hall and Shedinja's back when they're using them in battle? Del Candy is cute, but not very useful. Especially if it has that terrible normalizer ability. Parker unfortunately didn't get to be a bug-type trainer who uses spider Pokemon. Linoon has an arrow on its head. What is this, Avatar? Linoon gets us in for reminding me of the unbelievably obnoxious one in the episode Showdown at Linoon. Does Norman think he's a fighting-type gym leader? Seriously? You had to turn Slackoth, a Pokemon with a completely original concept of being a sloth Pokemon, into another monkey? Norman's team is about as lazy as his Slackings. Literally all 3 of his Pokemon are of the Slackoth line. Why can't he have Linoon and Spindle like an Emerald? It's not even a full evolutionary line team like in the anime. Are you sure these Pokemon are yawning or doing a bad Kermit the Frog impression? How does Vigoroth not get exhausted from constantly moving wildly all the time? How are we this high up off the ground? I don't remember seeing any staircases in this gym. Why would gym leaders be frustrated for losing? They have nothing to lose except for some money, which isn't any different than if they were normal Pokemon trainers. If anything, it would make them proud of the people who beat them. In spite of what I just said about being able to instantly get taken to places at times, would it hurt to at least give the chance to say no here? What if someone wants that now accessible rare candy found here right away? This feels pretty powerful, but it could easily deceive people into thinking it's based off the Titanic, since Seamallville was a ship in the Gen 3 games. And people are bringing their children to this ruined factory that looks like it could collapse on them. Loudon is a cool Pokemon, but I can't look at it without thinking of how annoying it was in Explorers of Sky with its wake-up call that gets jarring really fast, and how it practically hogs the camera in the dinner scenes. How Gabby and Ty got this whole battle on camera without having the camera damaged by some of the Pokemon's moves is impressive. Why don't these two just shove us aside with their Pokemon instead of monologuing to us? Don't they want the Legendary? If Matane can only be created if 2 Beldum fuse together, why do I only need 1 Beldum? It's a Slowbro situation all over again. That sounds so wrong. I love how now this game just gives you a legendary Pokemon for free, when we're just barely over halfway done with this game. I mean, I definitely prefer it over the originals where you had to spend weeks chasing it down, but it's still a sin. Why did they have to get rid of both Surskit and Nincada's completely original typings upon evolution? You really think just telling us not to go to the Weather Institute is enough to keep us away from there? Game made me think the old meddling kids phrase originated from Pokemon when I was younger. The way he says, "Give them back!" is very hard to take seriously. I can imagine Shelly questioning her leader's motives, but Tabitha? The guy who seems like a crazy person? This grunt's surprised that a kid showed up when a kid foiled their other plans. Isn't Shelly too old for Brendan? Why is this admin only using 1 Pokemon? They also used Mightyena in their last battle against us. How did you get tired when your Sharpedo did all the work? I thought we wouldn't have to put up with Sun rival battles anymore. In the original games, these kinds of ninja boys actually jumped out and ambushed you when masquerading as trees. Now they literally wait until you go up and talk to them. Feebas is the most annoying Pokemon to find in the game. Fortree City's builders were terrible planners if they couldn't even have uncovered windows. I've seen log cabins that can close windows, so why not here? Steven words this terribly. He's making it sound like we're gonna fight him even though we're just fighting a little Kecleon. One of Winona's rules is that losing is not allowed? What? What kind of witchcraft is this Trickmaster using? There's no ground behind his house, so how is he able to hide out this window? This puzzle has no trainers. I might understand why there aren't any in the Metrodol puzzle, but why this one? Cat's form has no sandstorm form. If Cat's form is part of your beauty and you didn't want that ruined, don't battle us. The strongest Hoenn introduced electric Pokemon has barely passable stats. Were these guys just waiting here to move to Mount Pyre? If you want to get there before your rivals, you shouldn't have just stood in one spot. May finally evolved your starter to its final stage. Definitely a step up from the original. These grunts tell you where and why Archie went, but won't say the other answer. Well, maybe they shouldn't give us any answers. It's disrespectful to have battles in the cemetery. And Sushi just assumes we're here to help him train. Was this TM left here to honor this deceased Pokemon? Because that means we're grave robbers. Male Manatite looks so dumb with its ears on its forehead. Where's this Grunt's Pugiana? Before the battles, these mountains were covered in grass, but during the battles they've been converted into a rocky landscape. I'm glad the enemy takes the right orb this time, but these grunts were already here before him, so why didn't one just run up and grab the orb and bring it to their boss? I mean, sure, Archie or Maxie got it in the end, but still. And why can't the orbs be separated? Yeah, they don't explain that. Don't keep convincing yourself you'll never lose, you won't improve. I do like grass-type Pokemon, but I never said that to you. How could this happen to me? Why do the grunts have to blab out that they're stealing the submarine? Just take it while everyone's distracted. Team Aqua gets a more interesting line than Team Magma does. Discount expansion suit from X and Y. If we catch these electrodes in the boss's office, are we stealing them from him? And why doesn't he use them? I know Kamroot's Team Magma's Pokemon, but having a Kamroot submarine just looks odd since Kamroot's quadruple weak to water. The amount of surfing in the late game is the bane of most players' existence. This also goes for the originals, but this wishing rock's misleading since there's no Jirachi event involved with it. I guess this is interesting, but why is the astronaut so fat? Cool light puzzle thing, but what if it malfunctions? Shouldn't it have a net to prevent people from falling? Metachan can survive going for a month without eating. The 7th gym leader only has 2 Pokemon. That's pathetic. This is a problem throughout most of the game. They practically ignore Emerald's existence. This is one of my worries for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl despite my anticipation for them. The Pokédex says Lunatone has intimidating eyes. They aren't that scary. Olaf Metrodol 1's answers are Ninkata. No wonder Metrodol 2 says his difficulty level is too low. This abandoned factory had a slanted door. What weirdo asks us where we're from but tells us to answer yes or no? Maybe that's the joke, but who in the right mind does that? You actually contemplate Pokemon for 24 hours a day? This guy's an insomniac. Fisherman Ronald doesn't look like a clown and isn't at a fast food restaurant. I'm getting bad memories of Skylar's anime counterpart, since air battles sounded awesome because they sound like they'd happen in the skies, and were advertised as battles that sound like they go inside Skylar's imagination, which sounded like unlimited potential, only for us to get stupidity. Good thing these trainers weren't there when the Pillar of Light erupted. Hair Razor Tail. Game thinks when all the word behooves. Well, now he's lost it. Finally! A villain that doesn't stop his plans just because he lost some Pokemon battle. Wait, is Maxie aware that reviving Groudon could destroy the world? You no longer fight the admins here. Secondary villain grows a conscience and tries to stop their leader cliche. Also, you still had a hand in this. I know that was before you realized just how powerful Kyogre was, but at least admit to your own mistakes. Also, this inspired the terrible Cavern episode of Pokemon Generations to play Shelly off like a complete saint who literally never did anything evil. This seems easily better than it was in the original games. It doesn't end so suddenly anymore. Kyogre, despite its 90 base speed, just slowly floats towards Sootopolis. This deep underground cave has pretty good reception. You were just horrified by what you heard, now you're still excited? How are you partially responsible for this? It's the opposing team's fault. You tried to prevent it. Why is Tabitha smiling? I'm glad our former enemies are helping you save the world this time. How did we jump that far? While Kyogre's cutscene looks awesome, Groudon's is just 20 seconds of riding over lava. Doesn't Game Freak care about Arceus anymore? Arceus is supposed to be the god of all Pokemon, yet they're making these guys stronger. Kyogre keeps healing, making it somewhat annoying to catch. This was actually kinda anticlimactic in the original because then it just ended. We didn't even see it stop. Here, however, it's much more satisfying. And we can finally fly to different routes now, and the atmosphere that comes with it is just so amazing. Why does New Marvel take longer to unlock than it used to? And it's nowhere near as challenging as it used to be. The fact that Wallace has women in his basement is actually kinda creepy if you think about it. Getting to fight trainers shouldn't be a penalty for messing up, especially since we can't fight them after beating Wallace. Chrissy's usage of double negatives used to confuse me. Luvdisc is cute, but useless. The Trick Master even managed to hide beneath a cushion, let alone one that looks really flat. How do we exceed you in greatness? Unless we set up some puzzles that you can solve, I'm not sure that really means we exceed you in greatness. It's actually pretty awesome that we can see non-Hoenn Pokemon before beating the game, and also how new evolutions to old Pokemon are in the Hoenn-Dex too. Armato's Pokédex says it can bounce all attacks off with its armor. Another bogus entry because it can still be defeated. Granted, it would be completely broken otherwise, but it's still misleading. I know I'm removing a lot of sins at a time, but I think the fight with Wally is much more awesome here. And he even uses Gallade like I was hoping he would. These hallways look really neat, but you can't fight the Elite Four members in any order you want like in the past 3 years. Sydney's face looks dumb in this game. Does Phoebe think she's Ace Roller now? Dusclops can absorb anything into its body and nothing ever comes out. That's horrible. Phoebe is also better than Agatha, just like how Karen is, but she only uses 3 evolutionary lines. What about Shedinja? Bayonet was supposedly a toy that was cursed to life, so then where does Shepard come from if it started out as a Bayonet? Also, it tries to get revenge on the kid that abandoned it. So we interrupt this game to bring you Toy Story. Glacial looks younger than she actually is. If Glalie is made of frozen rock, why isn't it a rock ice type? There aren't enough ice Pokemon in this game. Aside from Hailcast form, there's only 3 evolutionary lines, one being a legendary. The final fight against Steven is awesome, but it brings back terrible memories, for it's one of the biggest examples of how much I was a complete brat when I was a kid. I held an unhealthy grudge against him because he beat me, even though the reason he beat me was because I was really bad at Pokemon back then. Aggron is one of my favorite Pokemon, making it even more unfair that nearly every Aggron in the anime is a bad guy. I'm glad we beat Steven, but if you check his Pokénav page, it shows that he still thinks he's the strongest even after we beat him. Not only is that a complete jerk thing, it also doesn't sound like something he'd say. I really want to take off Sins for this cute and romantic moment, especially since I had the biggest crush on May when I was 12, but then I remembered that this game is shipping us with an underage girl. Seriously, what is with this franchise and shipping us with underage characters? Every game since Gen 6 has done this except for Sword and Shield, and even then, those games came close to shipping us with Marnie. Honestly, it feels like this is actively trying to take a dump on the ending of X and Y. And there's a somewhat overused Rayquaza song from Emerald. Is the Delta episode their justification for having little to no Pokemon Emerald references up to this point? Because it doesn't really justify it. This is another way to retcon correctly, revealing that one of the grunts was a good guy. It's a cool twist, and we won't have a reason to complain about it since there's just one less real member. Discount Yuffie. How come Zinnia wasn't in Generations like the other Gen 6 post-game waifu Emma was? Let Leonid. Scene does not contain a lap dance. Wally easily tells us his keystone was stolen, but all he told the admin was, I don't have one. Some grunts didn't get the memo that their team disbanded. Mr. Stone thinks he's Santa Claus. Aw, the Hawaiian waifu likes me back. I mean, I didn't say anything. Zinnia is sacrificing thousands of lives to save millions. I think Zinnia inspired one of the main characters from Fire Emblem Three Houses. How was this disappointing if you knew you'd lose? These grunts had a great plan of having intimidated on us 5 times, but then used Roar to switch out our Pokemon and ruin their plan. You were supposed to have reformed, and even then, you wanted to change the world, not destroy it. I guess Matt and Courtney don't get it. You couldn't just tell them there was another hope to save this world before destroying what they thought was their only hope? Worst Banjo-Kazooie impression ever. That's sexist. Also, even if you're a girl who's beaten Archie twice, he's still surprised a girl beat him. Zinnia quotes one of the best yet most overused modern SpongeBob songs before it came out. We're wasting precious time with this battle. Isn't our champion title proof enough that we're worthy? Ludicolo's design causes oversensitive morons to whine about nothing. The ones who built Sky Pillar were jerks to his visitors, forcing them to climb several ladders to get the full story. It's okay, I don't mind getting knocked unconscious by a waifu. I gotta stop doing that. Are other Pokemon survive in space? When did we get Wally's Keystone back? We haven't seen him since he told us Zinnia stole it. Oh, so that's the strange, bizarre reason why the credits version of Into the Unknown was sung by a man. You're not the champion anymore, remember? I know this scene's supposed to be a callback, but it just makes Birch look pathetic since he hasn't learned from the first time. Gentleman Thomas doesn't look like a talking train. How is Hidden Power an obvious choice for experts? This is one of the most obnoxious things Game Freak's done. In addition to removing the Battle Frontier, they raised a giant middle finger at us for wanting it, and basically promised it would return as DLC, but it never did. That disgusts me, and it deserves 10 sins.